Imagine an empire so vast that it stretched across 3 continents. An empire so powerful that even the legendary Greeks feared its armies. An empire that, at its height, ruled over nearly half of the world's population. This wasn't Rome, this wasn't China, this was Persia, the first true superpower of the ancient world. But how did Persia rise from an obscure tribe in the mountains of modern-day Iran to the rulers of the greatest empire the world had ever seen? And even after its fall, how did Persia's influence shape civilizations for centuries? Let's dive into one of the most insane stories in history. Every empire starts with a legend, and Persia had Cyrus the Great, a man who didn't just dream of power, he took it. Born around 600 BCE, Cyrus was the king of a tiny, insignificant tribe called the Persians, a group barely surviving under the rule of the mighty Median Empire. But Cyrus had other plans. He rebelled against the Medes in 550 BCE, crushed their armies, and took their throne. Just like that, Persia was on the map. But Cyrus wasn't stopping there. Next, he turned his attention to Lydia, in what is now modern-day Turkey, ruled by King Croesus, the guy famous for being insanely rich. Legend says that when Croesus asked the Oracle of Delphi if he should go to war with Cyrus, he was told, "If you go to war, you will destroy a great empire." Croesus thought the oracle meant Persia. Spoiler alert, it meant his own. In 547 BCE, Cyrus annihilated Lydia and took its riches for himself. But he wasn't done yet. He marched on to Babylon in 539 BCE, the wealthiest city in the world, ruled by King Nabonidus. Instead of a bloody siege, Cyrus walked in almost unopposed, because he convinced the people of Babylon that he was their liberator. Smart guy. By the time Cyrus was done, Persia wasn't just an empire, it was the largest empire the world had ever seen. Cyrus built his empire differently. Unlike other conquerors, he didn't burn cities to the ground or enslave entire populations. Instead, he ruled with tolerance. He let the people he conquered keep their religions, cultures, and even their own kings, as long as they paid taxes and pledged loyalty. This wasn't just kindness, it was genius. People were more likely to accept Persian rule because, honestly, it wasn't that bad. One of Cyrus's most famous acts was freeing the Jewish people from Babylonian captivity in 539 BCE. He let them return to Jerusalem and even helped fund the rebuilding of their temple. This move earned him the title of Messiah in the Bible, the only non-Jewish ruler to ever get that honor. Cyrus had created an empire unlike anything the world had seen, but then he died in battle in 530 BCE, fighting a tribe of warriors called the Massagetae. His son, Cambyses II, took over, expanded Persia into Egypt in 525 BCE, and then accidentally stabbed himself in the thigh and died. Oops, the empire could have collapsed right there. But then came the man who would truly turn Persia into a superpower. Enter Darius I, who ruled from 522 to 486 BCE, also known as Darius the Great. He wasn't the son of Cyrus, he wasn't even next in line for the throne. But when Cambyses died, Darius took control through a military coup and made it very clear that he was in charge. Darius didn't just expand the empire, he built it into a global powerhouse. He created a bureaucracy, dividing Persia into provinces called satrapies, each ruled by a governor or satrap who answered directly to him. He built the Royal Road, a highway stretching over 2,700 kilometers, allowing messages to travel across the empire in days instead of months. Think of it as the first express postal service. He introduced a common currency, the Daric, which made trade across the empire faster and richer than ever before. And then, of course, he turned his attention to a tiny, annoying group of city-states called the Greeks. By the time of Darius, Persia controlled Egypt, Mesopotamia, parts of India, and huge areas of Central Asia. But one thing was still bothering them: the Greeks. Greek cities like Athens and Sparta were tiny compared to Persia. But they had one thing the Persians didn't: insane levels of stubbornness. When Greek cities in Ionia, modern Turkey, rebelled against Persian rule, Athens helped them. Darius wasn't happy. He sent his massive Persian army to crush Athens, leading to the famous Battle of Marathon, 490 BCE. Despite being outnumbered, the Greeks somehow won. Darius planned a full-scale invasion of Greece, but he died before he could launch it. When King Darius I died, Persia's war with Greece was far from over. Enter his son, Xerxes I, who ruled from 486 to 465 BCE. If you thought Darius was determined, Xerxes took it to a whole new level. In 480 BCE, he launched one of the most ambitious invasions in history, marching hundreds of thousands of Persian troops into Greece. This was the war that gave us the legendary Battle of Thermopylae. You know, the one where 300 Spartan warriors held off the Persian army. But despite their bravery, Xerxes burned Athens to the ground. Victory was within his grasp. But then, the tides turned. The Greeks, using superior naval tactics, crushed Xerxes' fleet at the Battle of Salamis. By 479 BCE, Persia's invasion collapsed, and Xerxes retreated. Persia remained a powerhouse, but its aura of invincibility was shattered. The Greeks had proven they could stand toe-to-toe with the mighty Persian Empire. By 334 BCE, Persia was still the largest empire in the world, but internal struggles and weak leadership after the death of Darius the Great had left it vulnerable. That's when Alexander the Great, the young king of Macedon, launched his legendary invasion. In a series of battles, including the famous clashes at Granicus in 334 BCE, Issus in 333 BCE, and Gaugamela in 331 BCE, Alexander systematically dismantled the Persian forces, defeating King Darius III. By 330 BCE, the Achaemenid Empire had collapsed, and Alexander marched into Persepolis, the heart of Persian power, burning parts of the city in what many saw as an act of revenge for Persia's past invasions of Greece. But while Alexander conquered Persia, Persia also conquered him. Instead of erasing Persian culture, he embraced it, adopting Persian customs, wearing Persian attire, and even taking a Persian wife, Roxana. He encouraged his Greek and Macedonian soldiers to marry Persian women and integrated Persian officials into his administration. The result? Persian influence spread throughout his vast empire, ensuring that while the Achaemenid dynasty was gone, Persian culture would continue to shape the ancient world. Persia refused to fade into history. The Parthians rose first, holding off Roman expansion and dominating the Silk Road, making Persia a center of global trade. Then came the Sassanian Empire, Persia's last great dynasty before Islam, powerful, sophisticated, and locked in a centuries-long struggle with Rome and Byzantium. For 400 years, they built grand cities, advanced science and art, and shaped Persian identity. But in 651 CE, everything changed. The Islamic conquest swept through Persia, marking the start of a new era, one that would transform the empire but never erase its influence. In 651 CE, the Sassanian Empire fell to the Arab Muslim armies after years of war with both the Byzantines and the rising caliphate. The last Sassanian king, Yazdegerd III, fled east but was eventually killed, marking the official end of the empire. Yet Persia didn't simply vanish, it adapted. While the early years saw resistance and revolts, Persian culture soon became deeply woven into the Islamic world. By the 8th and 9th centuries, Persian scholars were leading the Islamic Golden Age, advancing fields like algebra, astronomy, and medicine. Persian poets like Ferdowsi preserved the nation's history through epic works like the Shahnameh, ensuring Persian identity remained strong. Meanwhile, Persian dynasties like the Safavids, ruling from 1501 to 1736, reshaped the region, making Shia Islam dominant and turning Persia into a major power once again. Through conquests, revolutions, and shifting empires, Persia never disappeared. It evolved, influencing the world in ways that still resonate today. In the 20th century, Persia became Iran, but its story was far from over. In 1925, Reza Shah Pahlavi modernized the country, building railroads, reforming the military, and cutting British influence. But oil would soon change everything. By 1951, Iran took control of its oil industry, kicking out the British. In response, the CIA backed a coup in 1953, overthrowing Iran's leader and restoring a Western-friendly monarchy. Then came 1979. The Islamic Revolution toppled the monarchy, replacing it with the Islamic Republic, forever reshaping Iran's role in global politics. Through every rise and fall, Persia's influence never faded. Its legacy shaped empires, trade, governance, and modern power struggles. Rome fell, Greece faded, but Persia lives on. History isn't just old stories, it's full of power, drama, and insane plot twists. If you want more stories like this, subscribe now and join us every week for more epic history.